Heyo, welcome everyone to Today in the Scene by Indie Arcade Wave. I'm Joe, your host, and here on In the Scene, we dive into what's happening in the arcade space from arcade developers, arcade owners and operators, and pinball even now, and just any news in general, really. I have started selling pinballs for Compulsive Pinball, so if you're interested in bringing one into your arcade or your personal collection, let me know, indiearcadewave@gmail.com. We will figure out what to do, and we will bring a new pinball to you. Now we've got a special guest. They just announced a massive game just the other day. I'm really excited to give it a go. We've got Jack from Jersey Jacks with the new Harry Potter game. How you doing, Jack?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How
I'm
about you?
I'm great. I'm great. Spent the morning in the sun, so I can't complain, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm really excited to talk about this game. My wife is a huge Harry Potter fan, so I wanna really dive into kind of how you got the game and everything like that. But first, let's talk about Jack. Who is Jack, and how did you get into pinball?
Oh shucks. I started doing this as a pinball mechanic. I was going to do it for 6 months before I went to college for electrical engineering and or something like that. People wanted me to be a lawyer or do this, do that. I just wanted to take some time off from school. I answered an ad in the newspaper for a pinball mechanic, and I got hired. The interview was by a gentleman, this guy Heinz, who was in the business 30 years. He was a lot older than me, obviously. And he asked me two questions. He asked me, "You're not a reader schematic?" Yeah. "And you know how to solder?" "Yes." "You're hired." So, they had game rooms in colleges all over the New York metropolitan area. And of course, I'm college age and I got a car and a beeper, and I'm getting, I think, 125 bucks a week, and I'm living home, and it's great. So I just, I went to college. I went to CW Post and New York Tech and Brooklyn College and Columbia University and Montclair State. I went to all the colleges actually. So then in later years, I began buying games and putting them in locations. So I became an operator. For many years, I opened arcades and amusement centers when I moved to New Jersey in 1989. Um, And then I ran a distributorship, Mondale Distributing, for a while in state sales. And in around 2000, I realized that pinball machines would go to the home. So I formed a company called pinballsales.com. And the whole idea of the company was to sell commercial arcade pinball machines to home customers. First year, I had a customer, FAO Schwarz, the toy store on Fifth Avenue. I had games in their catalog. We did about 1.4 million in sales the first year. Second year, FAO was kind of like out of the picture after 9/11. Nobody was coming to New York for tourism. We did almost 2 million that year in sales. We were bringing in games from Europe, containers of games, 50, 60 games at a time. Adam's Families were 300 bucks. Creature from the Black Lagoon was like 200 bucks. Rocky and Bullwinkle was $150. We would shop them, repaint them, clean them up, maybe make seven hundred bucks, 800 bucks a game. Put them on eBay and sell them. Then I became a Stern distributor in around 2001, and I became the biggest distributor in the country for years. 2009, 10 were bad. There was a downturn in the economy. I wound up selling about 47 Stern pinball machines in 2010. And everybody thought it was the economy, and I knew it wasn't the economy. People were looking for better games with more things on them. And in January 1st of 2011, I started Jersey Jack Pinball, and our first game was The Wizard of Oz. It's still my favorite game.
Yeah, it's a cool one for
Yeah.
sure. And
Well,
you've
it
got a whole
introduced all it introduced all new cool things that hadn't been done in 12 or 13 years. So
Yeah, I mean it's still a great game. I mean, people still love it. It's still very collectible, and you still see them around. So you guys have had a whole bunch. It's been what did you just say? It's been like 3 years since we spoke last. I think it was just before Toy Story.
yeah,
You had just
that's
like
hanging
Guns N'
around.
Roses was pretty recent.
Yep. Guns N' Roses was around October 6th, 2020, when we launched the game, something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, you've had some pretty big licenses. I mean, you did Willy Wonka and a whole bunch of other stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about how you got the Harry Potter license. Like, what was that like working with? I mean, you were working with like Warner Brothers, right, or Universal, Warner Brothers, and all
Right.
that. So, how was it getting that
So,
license?
I could say it was easy. I could say it was hard. You have to be determined when you have a business. Um, you don't lose if you don't give up, right? So I tried getting the license. I think it was about 10 years ago. I was going back looking at notes, and I was told that they're not licensing our category. Our category is amusement games, typically with all the licensors. And they're not licensing our category is a nice way to say we're not licensing the game, for games. And I asked a year later, I asked again, I asked again, I asked again. At one point, they said, and I kept asking. And I asked at a time where, from what I understand, there were people in California from representatives of the owner of the property. There's an agency that administers all the properties in the UK. And they said, well, if Jersey Jack can make a game like The Hobbit, we're interested. And my contact at Warner Brothers said, that is a Jersey Jack game. So it was it was love at first sight because they were more interested in how we would represent the IP and how we would integrate the story, how we were going to incorporate 8 movies, all the actors, all the assets. Would we get the John Williams music? Um, there was a million questions, and I had a million and one answers, and they were all the right thing because they came from the truth of what we were going to make the game be. And I think we did. If I say so, Jersey Jack says so. I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, the game looks fantastic. I haven't played it yet. I know it just came out, what, yesterday or the day before? Yeah,
Right.
Thursday. So it's
Oh,
only been out for a
Thursday.
couple days. I'm in the middle of Wisconsin right now, so there's not anything near me for arcades. I got to drive into Minneapolis, but I think there should be one coming pretty soon to a client of mine, and I'm excited to play it. So I want to know how you guys determined what you were going to put in the game. I mean, when you look at Harry Potter, there's so many books, there's so many movies, there's so much lore, so many things that could work in a pinball. How did you determine like this is an asset that's large enough for us to put in and this is something we're going to pass on?
Well, we had Eric Minier, our designer, our lead designer, and he is a Harry Potter maniac. He knows everything about Harry Potter. I think there were some calls where he knew more than Warner Brothers about different things. He's just an expert, and he loves it. And he was the only guy to do the game as a lead, and he came up with most of everything on the playfield. Joe Katz was really critical. Some other people on the team were critical. Um, Eric had, what I said to Eric after we went to Warner Brothers meeting to firm everything up in May of 2023, and I took Eric with me because I want him to be part of it from the very beginning. And we left the office, and I said, I want the game to be fun, fast, and flow. Those are the 3 things I want on the game. And he delivered. Some of his other games are stop and go. They're more exploratory. They're different. Uh, I think as a designer, and you can continue to grow and change styles and change different things about games to make them uh, reflect what people want. Honestly, I mean, people want a game that's packed with things, mechanical toys, technology, new technology, um, and a game that shoots really well. And I think we did all of that. Nothing's perfect. It's a pinball machine. It's a little tiny area that you have to work with, but it's a challenge, and I think the team did a great job.
I agree. I think it looks really good. I saw the I think it was like a 15 or 20 minute video that was going over gameplay and showing everything. I love how
Right,
you guys incorporated all four houses as flippers. That was pretty
right.
cool. It took me a little while to find the fourth house, but then I found it up on the Quidditch field, which was pretty cool. And the way you used the grand staircase as a ball diverter to move into different shots and kind of drop the ball off was, I mean, it's brilliant. Like the way everything was integrated into, like you said, the flow of the game and also the pace of the game was great. I can't wait to get my hands on it and actually try it.
Well, when I played the game and I couldn't look up at the monitor. I mean, I just, it's too much going on, especially you get into multi-ball and you got the Death Eater shooting that ball at you at 200 miles an hour. And then on one orbit, the ball's coming all the way down. Sometimes the post isn't there to lock the ball on the left orbit coming down, and it just rolls right off the flipper and it's gone. It's a challenge.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the introduction of the arcade version. I think that's something really interesting. I do remember, I don't think it was on camera the last time we spoke, but you did talk about how your market is primarily the home market, 3 years ago, and you want to move more into the arcade. How did you make it feasible to actually make this third edition that was the arcade edition, and what are your plans in the future moving forward with the arcade edition?
Well, it was something I wanted to do for a while. We had a standard game years ago, and it was our least sold game. So the most rare games we've ever done are our standard games. Why they're not $50,000 because they're so rare, I have no clue. But and that's a joke. But I, along with other people in the company, felt that we want to make a push into commercial locations. And as an operator, I know operators very well, and it's not always about what's in the cash box, what the game costs. When I operated and I bought games, I asked my distributor, "What does the game make?" before I asked them what it cost, because it was more important to me to know what the game made than what it cost. But I wanted to be under 10,000, so in theory, it's 99.99. We didn't take anything off the game that affects gameplay, so it's the same exact play field as the Wizard Edition. You just don't have some of the bling that you could add. You don't have a Visaglass, okay? You don't have a shaker motor. You don't have body powder coated body armor. It's powder coated, but it's black. You don't have the arc blades. You don't have a topper. You don't have the lights around the monitor, which our other games didn't have years ago anyway. So it's those things. You don't have a volume control on the front. So we took a few dollars out of it, and we took a few dollars off of it, and the orders for it are very, very strong. Operators responded, and even some home customers. That my feeling was with the license like this, especially, I didn't want to have anybody that wants a Harry Potter game to miss out on the game. So that's why it was important to have something at a few different price points. I mean, look, Joe, I wish the game was $6,000. I mean, I wish it was 5,000. I wish it was 4,000. But I wish gas was 30 cents a gallon, and you know, it's not happening. Things today cost a lot of money. It's expensive because it takes millions of dollars to create the product. You have to build it, you have to support it, and you have to support it with people that know what they're doing. So the price, as they say, is what it is. I mean, we're doing the best we can, and we held the price on the other two models too. And it's difficult to do that today. So we're going down in price when other people are going up.
Yeah, I mean, you made a good point there talking about production and everything, and I'm curious to dive kind of into that side of it. With having three models now, you're talking about different components that you're putting in. You have your own manufacturing facility as well. How did you keep the quality up without cutting too many corners on the production side so that this is feasible to keep it under $10,000? The arcade version is going to go in arcades and it's going to get beat up. So, how did you guys keep quality without cutting it down?
Yeah. The other thing that you don't have rad cals, you have decals. Um, well, so one example is if you took things off the playfield in the arcade game, I don't know what you take off. Let's say you took off the upper playfield. You have to program the game differently, right? Because you don't have that playfield. You have to probably put a different ramp on or something so the ball doesn't fall all over the place. Um, Now you're building two different play fields. So you're changing stations in the line, some stations getting skipped or added, and now you build two different products and you have to segregate them and you have to not get confused with what's going where and what. Actually, leaving them the same, you didn't take anything out, harming your customer or the potential earnings of the game, and you made it easier to build. And you didn't have to do any extra programming or any extra, figuring out what goes where and what parts you have and what parts you have extra. It's just you want to try to do things systematically and the same all the time. So the more you vary things and change things, the more money it costs you to build it. So that's a big part of it too. Um, and we didn't want to take things out of the game. We thought the game was great as it was. We don't want it to be any less of a game that was designed by the team.
So, from a standpoint of this game, it just launched, right? Like we're just a couple days after launch. How has this rollout felt compared to previous rollouts having three models? Like, did you guys go through a different process? Was there more of a marketing push? Like, what changed from this launch from the last launch?
This launch, there wasn't negative comments um, at the launch. And, I'm a very positive person and I have a thick skin. I'm from Brooklyn originally, street operator. So I didn't have a lot of people complaining about um, silly things that they complain about because you're at a disadvantage. You've never played the game. You didn't stand next to it. You didn't see it. You look at a snippet of something and there's a comment and everything. Um, the launch went really well. I think the videos really helped bring the excitement of what the game is and showed people what the game is without them being there as much as possible as we could. I look at the trailer that we made that Alex Manning did, and I get a little chill in my back. The whole set that was in there wasn't CG; it was a set they built. The castle. It was an unbelievable production for that. We, I know all the people that buy our games know that we look at every detail. We examine things with a microscope. We're critical of ourselves. We're our own biggest critics, and we don't want to make good games. We really don't. We want to make great games, and it takes more to make something be great. And people get criticized us to launch. Oh, they need a hit game. They need this. They need that. They're gonna. Everybody needs a hit game. What do you think? We're making a game to not be a hit. We do the best we can do, and we put it out there, and we expect great things to happen. We don't expect failure. We expect success.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, why would you get a huge IP like this and try to flop? Like that doesn't make any sense,
Right,
right?
right, right, right.
With this arcade specific launch, why should arcades be looking at you guys differently from your previous releases, right? Like a lot of people were like, "Oh, Jersey Jacks are they're home games. They're not the same as a route game, right?" So, what did you do differently this time that like arcades should take you very serious?
Well, Toy Story was on the Replay magazine chart 11 months out of 12 last year as the number one earning game on location. So there are a lot of smart operators that operate our games. What should be different is really the price. Operators were complaining. They're like, we need a game to be $10,000 or less. We can't pay 12, 15, whatever. Okay, I get it. So I'm giving you a game that has all of the features and toys of a $12,000 game just to set up for an arcade. So buy it. Now you don't have an excuse. Um, you know, it probably will have a good resale value too if you keep it nice and people don't carve their initials into it. And we developed something else for arcades. Um, it's called the Jersey Jack Pinball Game Changer, and I can tell you what that is.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know a little bit more about what that is.
Okay, it's three key fobs that are included with your game that have a QR code on each one. And on the screen of the game as well are three QR codes: easy, normal, and wizard. And you can walk up to the game with the key fob, or you can take a picture of the QR code on your phone and hold it, push the start button of the game, hold it up to the camera on the game, and the game reverts to those rules at that difficulty level.
That's a good move. That way you can kind of change it up a little bit, make it more difficult depending on what your clientele is like. If you have very casual players, you make it really easy. If you're
Well,
a pinball
Joe,
bar that
it's
pulls
not
league
it's
like
not
regularly.
it's not the operator doing it, it's the player.
Oh, it's the player. Okay.
The player does that.
Okay.
The player does that. So you walk up to your game, or you have your game at home, you have somebody that's just learning how to play pinball. I did it on my own game. I play easy, so I get further in the game. I get multi-ball sooner. I get wizard mode sooner. And actually, if you wanted to play wizard mode, I could play easy and you could play wizard, and we play against each other.
That's cool. I like that you can change the difficulty depending on how many players you have on the cabinet.
Exactly. Exactly. So
So
it's never been done. It's an idea I thought of like 15 years ago. I asked programming people to do it years ago, and they looked at me like I was crazy because we didn't have a camera in the game. Then I finally got a camera and the game was dialed in. I asked about it. I forgot about it. I remembered it about a year ago. And a few months ago, when I was in Chicago at the factory, Joe Katz and Duncan Brown surprised me, and they worked on their own time, and they made it happen. So it's just the coolest thing when you see it. It's something nobody else can do, and it differentiates our games more than other people's games. And I think it's something that will help games make more money on location. Newer players get frustrated with games. They get so far in the game and maybe they give up or they don't want to play or they'll play something different. This actually is going to encourage play and teach people how to play pinball a little bit better.
I like that idea. And I love that your team didn't tell you that they were doing it, and then they just surprised you and they were like, hey, here's your idea. It's done. We're not going to talk about it. It's done and you can check it out.
Yeah,
That's
most of the time they're good surprises. Once in a while is not a good surprise, but surprise.
That was a good surprise. I'm glad that happened. So I
They're
got two
great.
questions left for
They're
you.
great.
As someone new myself to the selling of pinballs and in the space, like what advice would you give me to build out my client book and kind of bring more pinballs to arcades?
Well, years ago, with pinballsales.com, I realized that people work and do things and buy things at different times of the day. Operators pretty much concerned with one or two things. Like I said already, what the game makes and what the game costs, because they're looking for ROI, right? Return on investment. How quick can I get my money back? Um, if you can demonstrate the value in that, you have a good audience. There were times where I did games, and I actually put them in a location to prove to somebody that they made money, or I gave them to an operator or a distributor, and I said, put this in and see what kind of money it makes. And I knew it would make money because if the game is set up the right way and it's priced the right way, you'll make money. I mean, years ago when we first did Wizard of Oz, I had an operator down in Rehoboth Beach call me and say, this game's no good. It doesn't make any money and blah, blah, blah. Well, talked about how the game was set up. I didn't go down to Rehoboth Beach, but one of my questions was, what's it priced at? And he said, well, it's priced at $2 a play. I said, listen, I wouldn't play it for $2 a play. You got to put it at something reasonable. Put it at 75 cents a play, or put a bill acceptor on it. Make it like 6 games for $5, or give some kind of bonus for extra, you know, money in there. You know, if it's $1 a game, let's say you put a 5 in, you get 6 games, right? I'd rather take what we say is a fast nickel than a slow quarter. So I'd rather do a volume business. So you got to know your room. You got to read the crowd. He reluctantly lowered the price, and the game started earning great money. So a lot of it is how the game's set up. Because he said, "Well, at $2 a play, I'm never going to pay the game back." I says, "Well, if people don't play it, you'll certainly never get paid back." So how it's set up is important, and I would say on this game, the back legs need to be up. The game needs to be on the second line. The bubble level. There's instructions in the game, so that's important too. That the playfield is at 7.5 degrees because that's how it was designed. But the other thing, if you want to sell stuff, be available. I have an 800 number that I still have. I put it on my website. I was getting calls all day and night, every day of the week when my competitors were sleeping or playing golf. I was selling games. I outsold everybody everywhere because I was into it. I'm still into it. A lot of my customers became friends. Um, it made it difficult for me to charge full price, but everybody got a deal of some kind. Everybody was happy. You know, try to give your customers something that nobody else can give them that doesn't cost you any money. Think about that one.
I think that's great advice. I mean, the relationship building is huge, and you got to go above and beyond. That's how you get people. It's how you keep people, and it helps you. It helps them. Everybody wins.
Yeah, I mean, relationship is pretty much everything. I mean, the product. What I did was I absorbed all the aggravation for the sales. We had brand new games that we were opening up years ago, and the flippers weren't right or something wasn't right, and we prepped them before we delivered them. And then, if Mrs. Jones calls you 3 weeks later, a month later, and says my flipper stopped working on my game, I sent people out doing service calls for free. What am I going to do? Charge her $100? She just paid $4,000, which was a lot of money for a pinball machine back in the mid 2000s. She just paid $4,000. Do I want the $100 or do I want $100 worth of goodwill in the bank? So I put the goodwill in the bank. It all came back to me when I started Jersey Jack Pinball because everybody trusted me and they figured if I took care of them before when I was repping the other company, I'd probably take care of them now. So what you put into it is what you get out of it.
Yeah, that's great advice. I'm going to take that and I'm going to use that, and I appreciate it. And the last question I have for you is from an arcade owner, Brian Armitage at Starcade in Minneapolis or St. Paul now. And I know he's going to get one of these. We've been talking a lot about it. He asked if you were on a deserted island and you had one pinball to pick from, and it's not a Jersey Jack, what pinball would you have with you?
I think I have the. It's hard, man. I think I have a Bally Strikes and Spares,
Okay, going with a classic, going with one of those. I love that. I think that's a good game to have with you, and I'm sure it's got a lot of nostalgic value for you. So why
or
wouldn't you
a
have a game you love?
or a Jumpin' Jacks or a Jack in the Box.
Okay.
One of those, because that's a weird. That was one of the first games I ever worked on. So a lot of weird things. The bumpers at the bottom. When you're at the bottom of the bumpers, you're in trouble. If you're at the top, you're okay. And get all those drop targets and everything, and just a wide open play field. It's a fun game. Every pinball machine's fun. I love every pinball machine. Even Popeye, you could find something good about.
I love that. I really appreciate you coming on, Jack. I'm super excited to get my hands on a Harry Potter and play that. I know it'll be soon. I'm sure I'll be shooting you a text, letting you know that I played it and what I think of it. For
Oh,
anybody that's still watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us a ton. The way we'll continue to grow and we can all ride it together. I'm going to throw links for Jack down in the description so you can go check out what they're working on and go play Harry Potter today. If you need any pinballs, you can reach out to me at indiearcadewave.com and we will chat about that. Until next time, peace.